Hello and welcome to another edition of the Father and Son Pastime Podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Kevin. How are you?
That's my dad. Dad, we're going to continue drawing focus on players that need a little extra attention. We just did a podcast on the 7 possibly likely superstars to retire in 2023. And now I'm going to kind of do the opposite. I'm going to draw attention on the top 12. We're going to draw attention. Sorry, I came up with the idea, but we're both going to debate this. The top 12 most underrated, I think that term gets used a lot, most overlooked players currently in baseball. We're going to go 2 in each division, so East, Central, West, East, Central, West. They cannot have won any awards in their professional careers. No Gold Gloves, no Rookie of the Years, no Silver Sluggers, no MVPs, no Cy Youngs. You get it. We want people that aren't like a one-time, two-time All-Star that, oh, he's so underrated, all that stuff. No, like, truly have never gotten an award, have never had the spotlight shined on them. Shown on them? Shined on them? Shined on them. And that's what we're going to do today. You can totally have votes in any of the above awards. You just can't have won it. So if you were the second place in Rookie of the Year and second place in MVP, but you never won either, you're eligible. More than a rookie, so no Adleys, Julio Rodriguez, Gunnar Hendersons. Someone that has truly have been, hey, you've been around for more than a year, and no one's noticed you yet. And obviously most currently be in that division. So if they were on a different team in 2022, they're now on a different division. That's what the division matters, even if they haven't played in that division yet. Like a Jameson Tyone in the NL Central, if that's who you want to shine your light on. Even though he was never, ever in the NL Central until this year, that's who you would use to represent. You can totally use 2 from each team. It doesn't matter if you think the most 2 underrated players are from the same team, the same division. Do it. Can be players, can be pitchers, etc. Dad, I'm just really curious who we choose, and then how we defend their reasoning versus all others. Because there's a good amount of possibilities in each of these things. You know, we can obviously use WAR, we can use other stats, we can just use the eye test.
WAR, what is it good for?
Measuring player success. So, Dad, let's just jump right into the AL East. I really had 3 possible contenders, but one is new, so I just got rid of him, and I kept 2. I have one from the Red Sox and one from the Rays. Tell me, without telling me the names, what 2 teams, or 1 team did you choose?
Orioles and Blue Jays.
Whoa, so we already are off the bat differently. Dad, you give me your 2 first.
The first one, I'll go local. Anthony Santander with the Orioles, switch hitting right fielder. Last year, 33 home runs, 89 RBIs, plays a decent right field, a switch hitter, and was one of the great stories out of a Rule 5 draft not that long ago. But of all the Orioles that it hit in the middle of the lineup, with a team that was young and moving up the ladder, Anthony has gotten better every year, and a switch hitter. So he's my first choice.
Solid pick. No awards. Been in the league for 6 years, 5.5. 2017 was a September call-up. Good pick, Dad. Is your second player also an outfielder?
No, a pitcher.
Tell me who the pitcher is.
Eric Swanson of the Blue Jays.
The new reliever. Okay. Yes. Tell me more about the Swanson.
3-2 last year, 1.68 ERA. They traded some very valuable pieces for him, and will really help the Toronto's bullpen this year in their quest of getting into first place. Great addition to the Blue Jays, and 3-2, 1.68 is very good numbers for any relief pitcher. Mm-hmm. So those are my 2 picks.
I love that you picked a reliever because they are typically so up and down, so, just unpredictable. Is this guy going to be still good? Is he not? He had a really good 2 past years. Obviously, last year's was more unbelievable. 2020 was terrible, but you can just chalk that up. Just nobody cares about that year. But I thought that could be a great pick, and he could obviously be the All-Star this year. Both of them could be, really.
Yeah.
Or obviously him adjusting to the AL East, he becomes a very average pitcher. So we'll see.
Yeah, and that's what Toronto's banking on.
Yeah, exactly. They traded a lot. They gave up a very powerful hitter for him.
Yeah.
So you'll be tracking, Dad, Eric Swanson and Anthony Santander's future possible trade of Anthony Santander, depending how the Orioles do this year. We'll see.
Orioles have 3 outfielders knocking on the door.
Right.
So, yeah, trade bait's going to come from the outfield.
Right, and I know he has been rumored in trades because of the underrated talent he possesses.
How many switch-hitting power hitters are there in baseball that is a decent outfielder, and he's had a heck of a spring training
Still
as well, by
cheap,
the way.
too, right? Still controllable.
Yeah. So I think those numbers don't lie. So that's a pretty good one. And a Rule 5 draft, which I love. One of the success stories out of Rule 5 draft.
Yeah. All right, that was an idea that I want to do, the Rule 5 draft. I don't think we ever got back to it. Dad, obviously I chose someone from the Red Sox when I originally did my list. I assumed this player had made the All-Star team. But Kike Hernandez has never made the All-Star team. I know he had not a down year last year, so maybe that's why he's not on people's minds. We're looking at the collective overlooked here. 2021, he should have been an All-Star because he had the best season on the Red Sox when they had Xander, when they had Rafi.
Playing out of position, basically, too.
The versatility is the reason I chose Kike, because now he's being tasked this season to play shortstop. Not a shortstop, by the way, while Trevor Story recovers / probably going to miss the whole year. Has played second base, has played corner outfielders for the Dodgers, but played center, learned a new position in 2021 on top of dominating the boards offensively.
In a big outfield.
And he makes, I think, under $10 million a year in a contract year. So if the Red Sox do not do well, it'd be really sad to see him traded. But 29 teams, or the ones in contention, should call the Red Sox for Kike because he is just that good. Same with the Orioles for Santander. My other pick is from the Tampa Bay Rays. I've seen him play live several times. Corner infielder that's being tasked as of right now to play first base for the Rays, Yandy Diaz. So Yandy Diaz, again, can play all infield positions if he has to, but better at first and third. Could even DH. Great offensive numbers. But again, I love the versatility that both these players offer because, hey, your bat's going to get you in the lineup. Your defense, none of these players are ever going to win Gold Gloves, but your defense is okay enough at multiple positions that, all right, where can Diaz play today? Where can Yandy play today?
And that's what Tampa Bay does.
Exactly. That's 100%.
They're famous for that.
100%. So I just wanted to bring attention to both of those players. Dad, AL Central, do you want to get back to it?
Sure.
Tell us the teams, tease us a little bit.
Both from Kansas City.
I have both from Cleveland. So very interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
First is starting pitcher Brady Singer. 10-5 last year, 3.23. Up and coming starting pitcher on a team that was very bad last year. To have probably their ace of the future do as much as he has. I thought he was terrific, and I think he's got a bright, bright future. And then from what I read last year, as teams went into Kansas City or they're on the road, they said, okay, we may not beat this guy, but we're going to beat everybody else in their starting rotation. So Brady Singer is my first one, and the second one is a relief pitcher named Scott Barlow, 7-4, 2.18 ERA, 24 saves last year on a bad team.
His brother is also a pitcher and a closer for Texas, I believe.
Yeah.
Great ERA. Both sound like trade candidates or extension candidates because you got to do something with these great players. Kansas City was really getting rid of their whole bullpen at one point too. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So
he must have came
staff,
because he must have been in process elimination, but he had a great year. 24 saves on a losing team is pretty good.
So the pitching staff of Kansas City interested you, but obviously the offense, not interested at all in their offense.
The only one a keeper is Bobby Witt, and he's won an award already.
Right.
But I had another relief pitcher named Dylan Coleman that had a great year as well.
So more Kansas City people.
Yeah.
So their pitching staff is their strength.
Correct. And Bobby Witt.
Yes. Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Well, funny that I did also choose an AL Central team. I like that we haven't linked up yet. And we all made our decisions pre this podcast. We're not like, oh, you took that one, so let me take this one to be different. No.
Yeah.
We're if we find the same one, we can do the same one.
Yeah.
So Cleveland really impressed me last year.
Yes. Not a whole lot of talent, but boy, I tell you, their international draft and major league draft are top notch.
I think there is a lot of talent. I'm arguing the opposite
young talent.
of that.
I meant to say young talent.
I'm going to first talk not so much talent, but mentality. Josh Naylor. Josh Naylor is my first pick for the Cleveland Guardians. If you watch him play baseball, there's just this insane intensity to how he plays. He's a good player. He's never been an all-star, obviously, but that's the mentality I want on my team. When he hits a home run, he is so psyched up. Like, watch those videos. Watch the highlight reel of Josh Naylor. You know, they got Josh Bell at first this year. Naylor might end up being like a DH or an corner outfielder when he's available, but they're going to find ways to get him in that lineup. His brother's going to be like a backup catcher to Zunino this year as he kind of finds his footing in the major leagues. So that's going to be really fun to see Josh and Bo on the same team and see how crazy that brother intensity is and the competitiveness.
Don't get him a fight.
Right. So I really like the craziness of Josh Naylor, while I like the calmness of Cal Quantrill. So when you think of Guardians pitching staff, Dad, you think of the Cy Young winner, Shane Bieber. And rightfully so. He's their best pitcher. Mm-hmm. You might even think Tristan McKenzie because he's kind of got the long legs and all that stuff. Cal Quantrill has been this steady, quiet dominance type of pitcher at like a number 2 hole. Like, every pitching staff needs an ace. You got to have that person that's Game 7, who's getting the ball, etc., etc. But Cal Quantrill reminds me a lot of Nate Eovaldi, where you shine in these bright moments. He had wins in the playoffs. I'm going to pull up just any of his, like, you know, he's got this pedigree. His dad was obviously in the major leagues for a little while as well. He went 15-5 last year and not an all-star.
Yeah. Pitching and defense.
He had 128 strikeouts, so again, he gets contact more than strikeouts. That's probably why he was not an all-star winner. But he had a really great season. He's 31-16 in his lifetime, and his lifetime ERA is a 3.5. Take notice of this guy. I think he is going to be quite good for several more years for Cleveland. And again, kind of like that, you're not that big bopper. You're the behind the big bopper, so you get all the RBIs. Lou Gehrig behind Babe Ruth. Right. Lou Gehrig behind Babe Ruth. You're behind Shane Bieber. So I think Cal Quantrill set up for a lot of success in Cleveland.
Yeah, I had Tristan McKenzie as one of my finalists. Yeah, he 296 last year, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of deserving people. I also thought about, and I thought this was too easy, so I didn't pick him. You know, I've said I've been taken. I got a list of a couple, but we have to pick 2. But Dylan Cease got, I think, 2nd or 3rd in Cy Young last year, but has never had an award. He had like 19 wins, but didn't have even an All-Star vote. I think that's strange. We'll see if he can repeat it in Chicago again this year, but Dylan Cease is certainly a player to take in fantasy baseball, but a player to watch replicate his success in 2023.
Yeah.
West?
Yeah, that was really good. The one point about Dylan Cease is, for some reason...
14-8, sorry.
Yeah. For some reason, he's a little injury prone. He's got hurt again in this spring training. I'm just thinking that when the Cubs drafted him, he was coming off Tommy John in high school, and then he kind of took a chance on him, built him up, and then all of a sudden now he's got a couple more little...
what a great trade for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Eloy Jimenez and Dylan Cease for...
Quintana.
Yep.
And then he's hurt as well. But yeah, that was not one of... Theo's best moments, that's for sure.
No.
Yeah, Theo had some good trades. He had better draft choices, but some of the ones he made were not the best.
Nope.
So Theo's going to have to live with that. But anyway, hopefully he can get his arm back because right now he's the ace of the White Sox.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I hope they rebound this year.
AL West, Dad, I have 2 teams. I have Houston and the Angels. Who do you have?
Houston and the Angels.
Woo! All right, go the Angels first.
Angels, Gio Urshela, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
And great year last year.
Yeah, Gio.
Yep, 285, 13 home runs, 64 RBIs.
With the Twins.
With the Twins, is correct. And then his fielding percentage was 983. So just an offensive and defensive player, high average. Mm-hmm. I liked what he's done, and he's a steady player. When
Rendon is fully healthy, Gio is supposed to slide into their shortstop position in L.A. So that will be very interesting because he's not a shortstop, but he has great defensive abilities that he might be able to learn that position.
Yeah.
So third, short, he might even play a little second if needed for the Angels this year.
It helps the Angels lineup offensively, just to have that steady bat. And if you look at that, I mean, he's a good fielder and everything else. But at 285, yeah, that helps the Angels score runs.
Okay. Who is your Astro?
Brian Abreu.
Whoa, bullpen.
Yes. Get a load of this.
I do. He wasn't on my list.
4-0, 194 ERA in 55 games, 88 strikeouts, 60 innings pitched.
Quite good. Every player on that team is just a reason they won the World Series, isn't it?
Yeah. But think about the youth they have with such strong arms. 4-0, 194 in 55 games, 80 strikeouts, 60 innings pitched.
And
he throws hard.
He's only 25.
Yeah. Yet another international player they signed. Just they do a tremendous job.
Yeah. He's on their team for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Good luck, AL West. Yes, he'd had a pretty bad 2021, but obviously you're kind of with the Eric Swanson on this that, hey, not all relievers become all-stars, so this was a pretty easier thing for me to find and all that stuff. Okay.
Sub-2 for a relief pitcher? Not bad.
What if I told you, Dad?
What I told you?
Christian Javier has never been an all-star for Houston.
That doesn't make any sense.
Christian Javier has never been an all-star for the Astros. Ever. Or any award ever. So what if I told you, Dad?
You will this year.
So who won the Cy Young Award last year in the AL?
Verlander.
What if I told you that Christian Javier had more strikeouts
I would have believed it.
than Justin Verlander?
Yeah, seen the World Series.
What if I told you that he had more strikeouts in less innings? He pitched less innings
And more strikeouts.
but
than
had
Verlander.
struck out more than Verlander.
Yeah, I can see that.
And no award. No award. So I mentioned Cal Quantrill's kind of quiet dominance, but he's like lowercase quiet dominance. This guy is full capped quiet dominance.
Yeah.
Christian Javier is the person that I would want probably starting my game one now since Verlander's gone. I know Framber Valdez is the all-star. I think a lot of people scout Framber. I think he's still great. Either one for 1 or 2, but I think I'd give Javier the game for game 1, Framber Valdez for game 2, and then we have a 2-game winning streak, and then we can just win every series.
And Houston has such strong pitching. It's almost ridiculous what they have in their bullpen.
It's pretty much ridiculous the product they have on the field.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to betting. Their next podcast in a couple weeks will be about like over-unders and like who to sprinkle some money on this. If you just put like $20 on the Houston Astros to win the World Series next year, it's like $80. Like, this should be like the odds-on favorite, not this high of a payout.
Yeah.
But 2.54 ERA last year, Dad, 11 wins, somehow 9 losses, so that's probably why he wasn't nominated for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 years ago, he was 3rd in the Rookie of the Year voting. So he's always been up there and really excited
They must have a great pitching coach because they take these kids that are raw and they really work with them to be dominant. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of it is development on the Houston's behalf, and they seem to do very well getting these guys who throw exceedingly hard, get them in the zone, get them some control, and then they just go forward.
I knew somebody in the Astros is going to be on this list because that whole team has underrated talent.
Yeah, they all can be all-stars.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Next, Dad, I also went with an Angel that got traded from a Central team, this time an NL Central team, but Hunter Renfroe. Hunter Renfroe, to me, when he was in Boston, I was so impressed. There's been several right fielders and outfielders that played for the Red Sox over the years that I've been a fan of, but Mookie Betts and Hunter Renfroe are the best 2 I've ever seen in right field. Mookie obviously has the Gold Gloves, has the talent, has the All-Stars, has the MVPs, but Hunter Renfroe can't seem to find his footing anywhere. He keeps getting a new team every single year. He's a free agent after this year. I hope somebody picks him up and gives him a 5-year extension like Andrew Benintendi, because
in a small ballpark,
he's pretty much guaranteed to hit 30 home runs a year. He has a great arm.
I was just about to say that.
Defensive metrics, catching the ball, fielding the ball, all that stuff, he's kind of average with. Who cares? If he can throw the guy out at third, did Cespedes need to catch every ball? Why don't you run on him and find out? Like, he is in that category. He will always have more than 100 hits a year. His RBI totals are always in the 80s or 90s. Like, he is just his 2021 in Boston, 31 home runs, 96 RBIs, and 33 of those were doubles.
I am surprised he gets traded as much as he does.
Yeah. 4 teams in 7 years.
We saw him in person when he was with the Padres, and we were in the left field bleachers. And when he was throwing the warm up, I was like, "This guy's got a gun."
Yeah.
And he's a husky guy.
He is. He's 230, my height.
Yeah. But yeah, I was impressed when we watched him at Camden Yards.
Yeah. So that's the AL, Dad. I'd love to see all of our people get All-Stars. I guarantee you some of our names mentioned this year will be All-Stars. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there'll be one or two that have not a great season. That's kind of underrated, but you were betting someone to, be an All-Star or something like that. Take some of our names. Dad, let's switch to the NL. We did 20 minutes in the AL. Let's do 20 minutes in the NL. Let's go to the East. I have Phillies and Marlins. Who do you have?
Marlins and Braves.
Let's talk Marlins first. You first.
I'm going Anthony Bass.
We got someone different, so it's all good.
Anthony Bass, relief pitcher, who's been with many teams. Last year, 2-3 with a 1.41 ERA. And just a kind of guy that's been through, finally found his footing, had a tremendous year with Miami on a bad team. Anytime you got somebody there that can go 1.41 over a season, that's dominant. So that's my first choice. Should I do my second choice?
Now, the one thing I'll tell you about Anthony Bass, is he was half in that team last year.
Okay.
So he was traded mid-season to the Blue Jays. So I would have you pick up a new team. Because I was looking that up. I was like, I remember having a good team. Wasn't he with two teams? And he started with the Marlins, traded to the Blue Jays. So, yeah, pick somebody else.
C.J. Edwards of the Nationals, 6-3, 276.
Carl Edwards Jr.
Yes. Don't forget the junior. C.J. Edwards, the Nationals, 6-3, 276 ERA in 62 games. He has great success with the Cubs, a great setup with the Cubs during their good years. Went through a little bit of a funk, even went through the minor leagues. Reestablished himself with the Nationals on a bad team. He was their best relief pitcher by far and rediscovered himself. The String Bean Slinger is his nickname.
Okay. I'm glad. It's almost like a Daniel Bard story. Really kind of nearly out of baseball.
He was on a list too somewhere.
Well, we'll get to the West.
And then I got another pick for you.
Go ahead.
Kyle Wright of the Braves.
He's young. Yeah, he's quite good.
21-5, 3.19 ERA. 21-5.
Yeah. Led the league in wins last year.
There you go.
Had it sounds so weird. So everyone thought he was a rookie last year. I don't know if you knew that. People were like, who is this guy? Because he didn't pitch more than 5 games in any previous year. Yeah. It was this constant up and down call up, and something clicked last year. 21-5, 3.19 ERA, and he had 174 strikeouts. Ian Anderson, when I know he's struggling as of late, but he kind of has. Ian Anderson was this meteoric rise, 21-year-old dominant, and then not so dominant. And Wright has been the opposite. Struggled in his early 20s. Now in his mid-20s is doing really well.
Yeah.
So they just kind of flip-flopped. A lot
of times they add a couple pitches. A lot of guys come up with 2 pitches, and they got to teach them the third and the fourth pitch. Once they get that, then they got arsenal to go into battle with. But I think with a lot of pitchers, they're good, but they need a few extra pitches because by the 5th inning, they've seen their 2 pitches, and they can sit on them. So they need a little bit of variety. So a lot of young pitchers go through that.
What is with Vanderbilt just churning out talent? He's a Vanderbilt boy, and it's just a funnel to Atlanta. It's just Atlanta Braves just must go to every game at Vanderbilt and just go you contract.
Yeah. And it's a really good university. It's like the Ivy League of the SEC.
Yeah.
So I think they get a great education, and they have a baseball team that's always in the playoffs coming the end of the season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, well, let's continue on. Dad, I got really excited when you said Miami. Obviously, you went and ended up going to the Nats. So we have 2 different teams here as well, Miami and Philly for me. I'm going to start with Miami. This is a name that you tell me if it's on your list. I know you got a lot of names there.
Okay.
John Birdie. Not on your list, right?
No.
I figured as much. So John Birdie is like a utility infielder bench player. Only played 100 games last year. Everyone else is pretty much a starter that I've gone over. John Birdie, at 100 games, led the league in steals.
Huh.
So with these expanded bases, with them being a couple inches shorter, that number's going to go up.
Yeah.
And Miami should keep playing him. So if he gets
Outfielder?
infielder, outfielder, he can
Okay.
play almost anything.
Yeah.
So if he gets 20 more games, he could be able at 60, 70 steals. He had 41 or 42 steals in
That's
100
Ricky
games.
Henderson era.
It's not. That's not. No, he's not. Ricky stole that like in a month. But John Birdie is extremely fast.
Huh.
These bigger bases, the NL East, I think overall will be one of the fastest divisions in baseball. You got Trey Turner,
Right.
Like imagine a game where Trey Turner and John Birdie are playing. It's anytime they're on first, it's a steal.
Gone.
They're gone. So if you like steals and stolen base attempts, John Birdie is put some money on him for your stolen base leader for 2023.
As a older baseball fan, I missed the stolen base over the years because with the shifts and all that stuff, they didn't do as much. Now, with all the things, they're going to come back. I hope speed gets back to part of baseball because it's really fun for a fan to watch.
Well, Terrence Gore has 3 World Series rings and 2 plate appearances in the World Series.
And a bobblehead.
Yeah, he does have that too. So if you're just fast, people are going to... I mean, you have to be obviously extremely fast, but...
Great addition in September.
Yeah. I went Phillies that, and I was between 2 names. If you've listened to this podcast, I talk about Ranger Suarez all the time, but I'm not choosing him because he still, I think, should be a reliever and not a starter for them. I went with Rhys Hoskins. Rhys Hoskins is a free agent. There are rumors in Philadelphia that they are not going to keep him around at first base, so this is a great player to watch if your team needs a first baseman. Very similar to Hunter Renfroe offensively. Strikes out a lot, but also guaranteed for about 30 home runs a year, 90 RBIs. Had 30 home runs last year, 79 RBIs. His highest RBI total was 96 RBIs. Walks a lot, though. I mean, he had 72 walks last year, but 170 strikeouts. Plays a decent first base, and probably will be affordable to a lot of people. He won't be in the Freddie Freeman category or the Jose Abreu category of value. So if you are a mid-market team that needs a first baseman for the next 5-6 years, like if it doesn't work out for the Cubbies with their little system of first base right now, he could...
They got a guy in AAA.
I know, I've seen him. He could be pretty good. But hey, what happened to Frank Schwindel? Why isn't he on this list? I know.
I think they pumped him full of steroids, and he was good for half a season.
So Rhys Hoskins is just a bull, and I think he deserved to be on this list. And he should have an all-star already.
Yeah, and at one point he was Philadelphia's favorite guy because he came through the system and everything else.
Yeah.
Wasn't he a third baseman originally, then moved over?
That sounds right.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds right because he's, a lot of them do that.
Okay.
And everyone goes to third base first and go, I can't play this anymore.
Can't
Put me in left field, Alex Gordon. I'm going to go win 5 Gold Gloves. All right, let's move on to the NL Central, Dad.
Okay.
I openly don't have any Cubs. Do you?
I have 2 Cubs.
Well, I'm not surprised. Go ahead.
Nico Horner now has gone to second base after Swanson came on a team. Finished second in Gold Glove for shortstops last year. 10 home runs, 55 RBIs, 20 stolen bases, 974 fielding percentage. He is an up-and-coming star in the National League. Hopefully he signs a long-term deal with the Cubs, but first-round draft choice out of Stanford. Just a great, great player. He has fielding abilities and great offensive production. He will be a star.
I think offensively, just overall, I think he was the best Cub last year.
Consistently, yes.
I think that's extremely impressive. 25, I think, is the big thing here. And you're right. Will he adapt to second base really well?
He played second base 2 years ago.
Ooh, so he learned shortstop, was good at it.
Shortstop in college, came to the Cubs, had opening at second, went to second, had to go back to shortstop because of the big hole, and then all of a sudden back to second. And he's a team guy.
So he's a Javi Baez defensively.
Yeah, that's pretty
Put me
good.
in either spot. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But 20 stolen bases is pretty good. He'll have a lot more this year. And probably will be their leadoff hitter.
Yeah, Dansby won't. Okay. That's awesome. What's your other one?
Jameson Taillon?
Taillon.
Is it have to pronounce it with a
I
little...
don't know. I don't really know. You have a name like Jameson, and then is it
Yeah.
I think it's Taillon.
Yeah, okay.
Or Taillon.
Okay. 14-5 last year with the Yankees. 3.91. Apparently will be one of the best starting pitchers the Cubs have. They gave him a little bit of money to come over to the Cubs. Everybody who has caught him and been his teammate say he's a great clubhouse guy. He's got a bright future. Started with the Pirates. I think the future is in front of him. I think he'll do exceedingly well in Wrigley Field. A lot of ground balls. I think he will be a great addition. And if you think about 14-5, 391, that's pretty good on a club. And then he's got some playoff experience. I think he's a winner.
I think your rotation's funny because you have one of the shortest players in baseball with Marcus Stroman, and then Jameson's a giant. I mean, he's 6'5",
and stocky,
big guy. But they pitch in a way the same. They're not going to blow it by you. They're not these Max Scherzers going for these big strikeout moments. There's going to be a lot of balls in play in Chicago this year. So glad you have Dansby and Nico and all that stuff, because you're not going to get a 20 strikeout game like Kerry Wood used to give, right?
Correct. And he got a much better outfield.
Right. So as long as the defense is there in Chicago, I think there could be a really good format. I'm not overly, and we'll get to over and under soon, but I'm not overly impressed with the pitching staff of Chicago, but the defense behind them will help them. So we'll get to that, I'm sure. I'm sure you disagree entirely, but hey, listen, I don't think the Red Sox pitching staff's any good either.
I think the Cubs will be above 500. I don't know if it's going to be enough to get into the playoffs, but they'll be vastly improved just because of the quality. If you look at their lineup last year compared to the lineup this year, night and day.
Okay. We will get to the projections and over-under in a couple weeks. Dad, I'm highlighting, obviously, the Cubs' competition, but at least you'll be able to see them in Chicago. Key Brian Hayes is the first person that came to my mind.
What a great player.
So I love Nolan Arenado. Obviously, he's not eligible because he's like Infinity Award winner at this point. Nolan Arenado, to me, obviously is a pretty instant Hall of Famer. Defensively, the best of our generation, current baseball generation. Key Brian had better defensive numbers in every single category last year than Nolan or than Manny Machado or Austin Riley at third base. At some point, he will take the Gold Gloves away from Nolan. I don't know when that will be. He's obviously younger, so he will get some. But I know no one watches the Pirates, or they only watch the Pirates when your team plays them. He will be a gem this year because there's no shift. So he'll have more ground to cover, and I actually think this is the year Key Brian takes away from Nolan. I still love Nolan.
Great athlete.
And, I think there was a little favoritism even last year with Nolan getting the Gold Glove over Key Brian. But there's going to be so many web gems this year in Pittsburgh with Hayes and O'Neal Cruz on the same side of the infield.
I was just about to say that. And, if you have a shortstop who's 6'7", think about the range he has at 6'7", and he's going to take away line drives.
Yeah. I don't want to get too much in predictions. I really have good feelings about Pittsburgh's this year. I don't think they should trade Andrew McCutchen. I think he should finish out the year. Next, I don't know how this player, I literally triple checked this and I just rechecked it now, even though I was confident. Willie Adames has never been an All-Star.
Good player.
With the Brewers.
Yeah, he made my list.
Good. He almost seems like the star because Christian Yelich is over. I'm not on his train anymore. He's just like an average player. Offensively, he might be the best player in Milwaukee, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah. Great stats last year.
Yeah, good stats. Nothing. He has power, which is he had the most home runs ever in his career last year with 31 home runs. He had 98 RBIs. His batting average is poor though.
238,
which is not great for a middle infielder. Usually they bat higher versus these power hitters. I think if his average went up and his homers came down, actually, it's better for the team. But regardless, I don't know how he hasn't been an All-Star. I think with a few players that exited Milwaukee this past year, like Hader and all that stuff, like a consistent All-Star. And now we have Willie Adames. I think this is his last year being on this list. I think he becomes an All-Star in 2023.
I did my research yesterday. Milwaukee had a lot of home runs last year. And a guy who made my list was Rowdy Tellez.
Oh, yeah.
35 home runs, 89 RBIs. But then, they had a lot of guys in their 20s for home runs. Mm-hmm. So Milwaukee did score their share.
Yeah.
have their share of guys that hit for power. Just didn't put it together. I don't know what they're going to do this year. You never know what they're going to do. That trade at midseason did not help them whatsoever. But offensively, they were pretty darn good.
Yeah. I signaled to the camera, killed them mentally. When you trade your best player.
Yeah. Clubhouse.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even think Hader was that good in the clubhouse, but I think it destroys the sentiment that we're trying to win.
Correct.
And that just hurts, that kills you, shoots you in your foot.
Yep.
Dad, let's go in the NOS. I know if you're, by the way, quick pause, because NOS is loaded. I'm sure we've skipped your team or your player or you disagree with us. Try to do this exercise. Try to do 2 in each division that meet all our criteria. It's really hard because you might have one All-Star in 2017 and you're like, but that's 7 years ago. That's 6 years ago. Like, it matters now. Like, it's really difficult to find these and excel in their positions. It's just really difficult. So if we forgot your team or your favorite player, we apologize, but I'm standing behind my list so far. I'm really happy with the 2 names I've came up with in the West, and I'm sure you are too, Dad. What are the 2 teams?
Arizona and the Dodgers.
Same. I wonder if we got them. We haven't had one in common yet.
You want me to go with the
yes,
Diamondbacks?
Go Diamondbacks.
Zach Gallen.
Yo, let's go Zach Gallen. Yes. What a player. Go ahead. We'll talk about Zach together.
12-4, 2.54 ERA. Excellent for. I think the Diamondbacks are one of these sleeping teams. I think they're going to do really well this year. By the way,
Yep.
They got some talent.
Yes. Corbin Carroll.
Okay. But Zach really impressed me. Anytime you go through a season on a losing, they're a losing team last year.
Yeah.
And a 2.54 is excellent. I think he's a star in the making, and I really am, happy for him. And through everything, I was like, he was really good. And then should I do the other one now?
No, I want to talk more about Zach. 5th in the Cy Young voting last year. This was also the guy that was traded prospect for Jazz Chisholm. For Miami. So Miami had this. Miami developed clearly great starting pitching. And then I think Arizona with Ketel Marte develops really great up the middle talent. So they just swap that because, hey, we can't develop pitching that well. Hey, we can't develop middle infielders. And they swap that. Jazz obviously is the all-star and on the cover of MLB The Show this year. Zach's time in the sun, literally in Arizona, in the sun of Arizona, is coming this year. Madison is sun setting. Zach is sun rising.
He may retire this year.
Sure.
Yeah.
He is your ace. Merrill Kelly could also, we'll see what happens with the Diamondbacks, but he's really good too. But Zach Gallen is a Cy Young candidate this year. Maybe sprinkle some money. I don't know. Okay, who's your other person?
Will Smith.
We have a different person. Okay, cool. But I love Will Smith. Keep talking about Will Smith. I'm very excited because you don't talk about these people enough.
I know. I think he's the heart and soul of the Dodgers, to be quite honest. Catcher for the Dodgers. His fielding percentage last year was .997.
And not a Gold Glover.
I mean, think about that for a catcher. Major league team, .997. 24 home runs, 87 RBIs, hit .260 on a team that is heart and soul. They relied on him being, the captain on the field, get everybody in the right position, and all that stuff. Unsung hero of the Dodgers.
Real Muto won Gold Glove versus Will Smith, and I think it's always going to be a battle because I think both offensively and defensively they are the 1 and 2 catchers in the NL, especially with Yachty being gone now. It's just who's injured more, who sits more games, and you just give it to the person who plays more.
Think of that being a catcher.
Yeah.
997. It means made 2 errors.
And if you look at the Dodgers, and again we'll do a deeper dive into this, in a couple weeks, but they've already been plagued by injuries, and they're going to bring up a lot of their youth and see if they can click. But the youth has been clicking for the Dodgers for 10 years from pitching staffs. Do you remember people like Andre Ethier and Matt Kemp? Some of these people
just keep coming.
They just click. And I'm going to go with someone that has just clicked for the Dodgers and has been a Dodger since, I don't know, it was 16, I think, from Mexico. Julio Urias.
Okay.
Julio, I was shocked that has never won anything. He has been the Cy Young runner-up several times. He has been 3rd place. He had led the league in wins in 2021. He is still super young. He had the lowest ERA last season in the entirety of Major League Baseball. 20-3 in 2021, 17-7 with a 2.16 this past year. Dominant, almost 200 strikeouts in 2021, 166 last year. Third in Cy Young voting, 14th in MVP last year, but no All-Star. 7th in Cy Young voting in a previous year. I don't know why people haven't noticed this guy. He is only 26. He's a free agent in 2024. If you're the Dodgers, this is who you lock up. Had a 5 WAR last year with a 17-7. Had a bigger WAR the previous year. I'm not leaking picks, but I'm actually going to put money on Julio Urias to get the Cy Young in 2023. Just truly super underrated talent.
Better than Kershaw right now?
Yes. Kershaw's dominant, but I just don't think Kershaw's going to pitch as many innings as Julio Urias. And again, Sandy Alcantara will always, if he just needs one injury, and I'm never going to root for injury for Sandy, but the reason he won is because he was a dominant pitcher, but so was Zach Gallen, and so was 4 other pitchers. But he pitched 40 more innings than the runner-up for Cy Young.
And a losing team.
Right. So if you can throw 7-8 innings now and have that low of an ERA, of course you're going to win Cy Young. But again, if those numbers dip at all, if he pitches the same amount of innings as a Urias or as a Gallen, I think they're finally in the same playing field. And on a 6-inning game, Julio Urias or Sandy Alcantara, it's to me very equal. If it goes 8 innings, that's when Julio can get hit and Sandy can still be dominant. So again, one little injury this year or one regression in one category makes Sandy equal to Julio. Julio is not the favorite to win it. That's why I said sprinkle a little money on Julio. But yeah. That's how you bet, right? You don't always take the favorite. The West, I just want to name a few names. It's my longest list. Ryan McMahon, Daniel Bard on the Rockies, I think deserve mentions. Logan Webb on the Giants, and Ha-Sung Kim on the Padres, basically being able to play so many positions. Hey, I know we signed you out of, Korea, I think it was Korea, to play shortstop, but we're going to sign 4 shortstops, and you're going to play where we tell you.
And then draft number 1 shortstop.
So, so he's just a good teammate and therefore underrated. But great time doing this. I hope you enjoyed this. This was fun.
I had a ball doing the research and everything else. It brought me back to the people that are not the stars. So when I watch a ball game, I know who's on that team and who to root for. I mean, when you go through and let's say you go to a game at your local ballpark, you kind of go there to see the stars, but go to see the other guys who are having phenomenal years that just haven't got the recognition yet. So it really made me aware of the teams and the talent that's out there. So it was a great exercise.
I also think we covered every position. We had relievers, we had starters, we had infielders, we had outfielders. So I really thought we were covered in every area. I mean, Josh Naylor is even a DH sometimes. So yeah, I thought this was perfect. You did a great job following all the parameters. None of those guys were all stars.
Yeah. Like I told you, I did 4 hours of research.
Well, it certainly shows. Thank you guys for watching the podcast. Hope you guys enjoy our bantering. We only had 1 in common out of 12.
Yeah.
And it's Zach Gallen. Maybe you should take a little money on Zach Gallen this year.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's amazing how many good pitchers go through Miami.
Yeah.
That's another team filled with pitchers.
Factory.
Yeah.
I like how, we represented more than 20 teams because we had so many differences between us.
And it's good we highlighted some teams that didn't make the playoffs last year that have great players, but just not enough of them.
That's kind of why the reason they're overlooked is they're on bad teams.
Correct.
Speaking of bad teams, we'll be back in about 2 weeks to talk about the Cubs. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I had an opportunity and I took it. No. To talk over-unders.
We can talk about the Red Sox.
A little late. All the playoff odds, predictions. Really just we'll be going through DraftKings and give you all kind of betting advice. We'll be laying some live bets down as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. That's new.
Yeah, it's fun. Maryland has sports betting now.
Yeah.
So again, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on all our socials. They'll be in the description below. But at Pastime Podcast _ on Twitter and Instagram. And we are the Father and Son Pastime Podcast on Facebook. Dad, anything to close out?
Great. Do vote for us because there's a million podcasts now.
It's not a vote, but subscribe.
But none of them have father-son, so keep that in mind.
There we go. We may Dad even have a little I don't know, if we can get to like 100 subscribers, we may do like a little shop where we can make our shirts for sale. But we got to get there first.
We might have a celebrity next winter for you being on the podcast.
You never know.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, and also share this. Not just subscribe, but also share this with people. Get people excited for the MLB season. 12 players, well, almost, 25 total probably.
Yeah.
To watch in the 2023 season.
You forgot one thing.
No, we ended up with 23 people.
You forgot one thing. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yes. Top of the morning to you, everybody.
And
enjoy St. Patty's Day.